Welcome to the CP Media Podcast, brought to you by our great friends, Team CP, your endurance coaching specialists. As always, I am the media man with the Mo, aka Angus Petrie, coming to you all the way from Auckland today. And from Kirwee is Richard Greer back in his hometown.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice sunny Kiwi day. What's happening up in Auckland today, Angus?
Oh, look, we've had a typical Auckland day here. We've had some blue sky sunshine, we've had some clouds, we've had some spots of rain, and we've had some heavy traffic.
Everything. Excellent. Hey, tonight we're talking Motatapu, all things Motatapu. It's a fantastic event. It's back on the calendar for 2021, and we're going to break it down and have a look at the event in lots of different angles. Angus, what's your background in regards to Motatapu?
Well, I'm a very, very late. I've done quite a few events over the years and the sort of 10 years I've been going. And to be fair, I've done 2 Motatapus. I was a very, very late comer to it. For whatever reason, I just was not really attracted to it, even though I'm a mountain biker at heart, and that's what I was doing, lots of mountain bike races. And I don't know why, just because of the thousands of people, I think. And then sort of decided it was time I should venture down there a couple of years ago and had an absolute blast. Underestimated actually some pieces of the course when you go into it blind without not knowing it. So that caught me out. Yep. And then basically set a time challenge that I had to go back again to, because you'd had one reconnaissance through it. So now you got to go back and put all those other bits in and tidy a few things up. Yeah,
and that's the thing, isn't it? When you get down there, it's an awesome event. The buzz, the vibe, and as you say, like you don't see it as a technical event, but actually, if you can ride the whole event without putting your foot down, you've done very well with the river crossings and the steep little uphill pinches, and it's tough as well. So we'll get to look at that, but also like talking about all the different elements that is Motatapu, and I've been lucky enough to kind of have a look at all of them over the years. Started this year, just before lockdown happened, did the Ultra, which is amazing, and then had a crack at the Miners Trail. Done the triathlon, done all sort of bits of it. So yeah, really looking forward to talking to our guests tonight and sort of sharing some of that learning and getting excited about Motatapu 2021.
Yeah, and haven't you lined us up a whole episode full of guests from all facets of parts of the Motatapu race? You've actually done very well putting this guest list together, Richard.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, but I have to give kudos to Gemma Peskett, the race director. She's passionate and giving me a bit of a hand, so I can't take all that kudos myself. But just a bit of an overview. We're going to talk to Gemma shortly. We're going to also talk to Adam Wilson. Adam has done all but one, I think, Motatapus. He's done the try at a really high level and also qualified for the Xterra Worlds. He's also recce'd the Ultra course when the Ultra course was still sort of an idea. We're going to talk to Harvey, who did her first Motatapu Marathon earlier this year, and she wants to go and have a crack at the Ultra, so get a sort of beginners sort of getting started type perspective. And then we're also going to talk to Kate Bowe, used to be Kate Fluker, and Kate has ridden the mountain bike for the last 10 years, and she's won 9 of those, which is pretty amazing, and got second in the other one. So that's not bad. And like, I haven't had any experience with Kate riding because she's always so far in front, so hopefully we might get a tip or two out of her to how we go a little bit better, Angus.
Yeah, and look, I'm just going to say this, Richard, because this is preparation for a show. There's many hours goes into preparing for a show like this that we put on, and here I am in my little apartment here in Auckland, and dragged all the way from Christchurch specifically for the show. How's that for a t-shirt?
Yeah, you've done well. Well done, Angus. Good stuff. You've got the t-shirt.
Anyway, shall we box on and entertain some people other than our banter?
Absolutely. So we're going to talk to Gemma Peskett for a start. Gemma has been involved in the event for a number of years. She was the original race director. She's just recently taken ownership of the event for 2021. So really keen to talk to Gemma about what's changed, what will be the same, and what we should expect when we get to the finish line in a few months' time.
All right. Gemma, welcome.
Hey team, how's it going?
Very good. Looking at your backdrop there, like that's probably one of the best backdrops we've had on our show. We were just talking before, and it's a blue sky day in Queenstown.
Oh, it's a perler. Great day.
Fantastic. And it always is, I'm sure. Gemma, thanks for joining us. Thanks for taking ownership of this event and getting it back up and running. It was a bit sketchy there for a little while, so super stoked. And I think based on the word on the street, a lot of people are really excited about this event coming up. You've got a few changes, got a few things that you're going to keep the same, etc. But before we talk about that too much, I want to have a bit of a chat about your background. What does this event mean to you, and why did you sort of step in to say, right, let's make this ours and really take the next step with it?
Yeah. Okay. So, well, firstly, thanks for having us. We're stoked to be here tonight. My background is I turned up in Queenstown in 2004 and was working for a marketing company, and the guys that were running that actually were part of this Motatapu event. And year one of Motatapu, they said, "Oh, do you want to help out?" And I was like, "Love to." And just that was my first sort of time working in event management. Loved it, and ended up working 10 years with the event. So I just love it, and that's why I'm back with it. COVID sort of changed a lot of things for a lot of industries, and the events industry got hit really hard, and we thought that maybe something was going on. We'd picked up a few things in the media that was said, and we just approached the previous owners and said, is there anything that we can do? We want to make sure this race continues.
Brilliant. And it's kind of gone from there. And
here we are.
Yeah, and here we are. Brilliant. And what sort of time frame have you had since that right, sign it off, it's ours now, to event time? When did that happen?
So the sign on the dotted line, everything official, early November, and we were pretty quick to try and turn around and get the word out that things were going to happen. And so that was only about 6 weeks ago. So we've been doing a lot of work in the background trying to get things ready, because normally you'd have a full year to plan an event like this. So we're coming in hot.
Yeah, it's all on. Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a few things that are going to change. But what events are being offered this time around? What are we going to look forward to?
So we've got the 47K mountain bike, which is one of the original events, and that's probably got the most number of competitors in it. Mm-hmm. We've got the 42K off-road marathon, which again, it was one of the original events. Then we've got the Ultra, so the 51K Ultra across the Motatapu Dock walking track, and then we've got the 15K Miners Trail, which run-walk option loop from Arrowtown.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. The triathlon's not in there. That's been a bit of a stalwart sort of event for a few years now. What's the reason for that?
Yeah, so the tri's unfortunately not there for 2021, but we were looking at what we could do for 2021, and we wanted to deliver the event well. We wanted to do the event justice, and to be able to do that in the time frame that we've got, something had to give, and unfortunately that was the tri for this year. Just the extra logistics that go into the tri, there is quite a bit of extra in there. But we have heard from everybody that wanted the tri, and so we do know there's definitely a passionate group out there that want to see it back, and so we will listen to that feedback.
I've just got a couple of thumbs up coming through, sort of some feedback already, just as you say that. So there we'll go. We'll take that. Absolutely. So and does that, in terms of how the event's happening over the last couple of years, it's been split into 2 days, but you're going to bring it back to a 1-day format. What's the sort of rationale behind that? Yeah,
so that was another thing we're looking at through the process. Is obviously the COVID year, I suppose. We had to look at things slightly differently and what we could and couldn't achieve. And the event's been run for 16 years. 14 of those have actually been on that 1-day format. And we knew it can work. What we wanted to make sure of is that we got the event timings right, which is another reason why the triathlon has sort of got pulled out for this year, because it's another logistics in terms of that course flow. We want to nail it for 2021 and everyone have a great experience. So we've pulled it back to 1 day. And that has meant a big review of the start times.
So where are they going to be now? Because that's obviously a bit of a contentious thing in terms of when marathoners are starting, the heat of the day, also traffic and mountain bikers not running over marathoners. But also the positive of that is actually there's the vibe and the energy and runners cheering on bikers as they go past, etc. as well, and vice versa.
Yeah, the band is awesome. That's all part of it. So we'll have the ultras kicking off at 6 a.m. and that's actually been the same the whole way through. They do go across that dock walking track, so they are kind of a little bit separate in terms of where they're going. So they're kicking off at 6 a.m. and then we're going to have the mountain bikers starting from 8 a.m. at Glendew Bay. So they are going to be on the main course through the valley before any runners or walkers. So they're going to get the run of the valley, really.
Okay, good.
And the majority of mountain bikers will be through to that finish line before they encounter any runners or walkers. The tail end of the field will encounter Miners Trail athletes in that last sort of 4K. So that was mountain bikers at 8 a.m. And then we've got marathoners starting just a little bit further up from Glendew Bay on the Motatapu Road at 10:30 a.m.
Okay,
so that is...
Those faster marathoners are going to be chasing some mountain bikers. That's kind of their goal, isn't it?
Yeah, and so from our point of view, we chatted to the safety team and we actually chatted to the previous owners and race directors, and they've been really helpful in this whole process. We felt that it's a lot safer for a fast runner to be passing a slower, possibly more cautious rider. So that was one of our reasonings for kicking off the bikers first and then the marathoners second.
Yes. And what about the Miners Trail? Because that starts and finishes at the finish line in Arrowtown. So how's that going to flow in the event? And also, I guess part of that's that finish line vibe as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got them going at 11, which is probably one of the later start times they've had. And our reasoning behind that is we did a whole heap of modelling with all the timings and doing things at different times to see what the flow was going to be like on course. And the great thing was that we had the data to do that. And what we found is actually the Miners Trail, all the different times starting them in the morning, was actually going to cause a bit of havoc with those lead fast riders coming through. So we decided to move the Miners Trail to 11, and they'll start joining the Macetown track with the back third of the mountain bike field, which we feel is the safest option to have through there.
Yeah, great.
And they'll be able to be at they'll be able to be at their start line, but the mountain bikers finish line when the lead bikers are coming through.
Right, so that creates a bit of extra atmosphere as well. I was going to ask that actually. How does that go when they're starting and the mountain bikers are finishing? So it's not going to be dead when those first few come through. There's going to be a few cheers and all that sort of stuff going on, because you've got a whole stack of runners that are about to head out and they're enthusiastic and your music's playing, and then the lead bikers are going to come across. Yeah,
exactly. So we're hoping that the finish line's actually going to be full swing for those fast riders coming through.
Wicked. That's awesome. And what about aid stations? Are they going to change? Are they about the same? What happens there? What do we expect on course?
So the aid stations will be all in the same locations on the courses. So there's 4 aid stations through where the mountain bike and the marathon go. There's 4 checkpoints on the adventure run. Sorry, the ultra course used to be called the adventure run. And one water station and 1 full aid station on the Miners Trail course. And at those aid stations, the first thing you'll find are very enthusiastic volunteers.
I'd say.
I think the first day that we took over and started getting the emails through, there was volunteers claiming their aid stations. So that was awesome to see.
Yeah. And was it the first aid station? They do an amazing job, don't they, in terms of the dress ups and things that I've had. The last couple of years, I've just cruised and rolled through it slowly with a few friends and things like that. And actually, it's spending some time at those aid stations. It's awesome fun. And there's been some good food. I think I've probably almost put on weight actually.
Hospitality at the aid stations.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you get involved in those. So that's fantastic. And what is that? You were talked about that finish line vibe. What are we sort of expecting? What's kind of happening around stalls and different bits and pieces at that finish line? What are you planning there?
Yeah, so we're hoping to get any sponsors that are involved. We're hoping that they're going to come down and do activations and possibly even some hosting with clients and things like that. So really build up that finish line buzz and have a bit of a party down in Arrowtown.
Yeah, good. And there's always been a whole range of different food options, which has always been good, just to for people to hang out on the grass and watch their friends and family come across the finish line.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the same thing we're trying to aim for, is that cool finish line vibe.
Nice. So if there was one piece of advice, and this is probably a really tricky question, one piece of advice across the board that you say, hey, I'm going to do Motatapu, be it the mountain bike ride, the ultra run, the marathon, the Miners Trail, what would you give somebody that if they're thinking about it or looking to do it?
Well, firstly, do it. Sign up and do it.
Make sure you do it. Yeah, sign up now. Yeah.
And then enjoy the journey through your training, and then actually through the race. Just enjoy it. It is the one chance a year you get to go through that valley, and it's just stunning. I know you've been in there a few times. It's just a pleasure to go through there. So I think enjoy it.
Yeah, fantastic. And will you get the opportunity to do that in your sort of preparation to actually have a moment to travel through the course?
Yeah, so we were actually hoping to get through the other week, but the weather decided not to play the game. So we're hoping to get in next week, actually.
Yeah, fantastic. That's brilliant. And so everything on track? You're happy with where things are at and tracking at the moment?
Yeah, we're really happy. We've had a really good response since announcing things were happening, and entries are live, entries are rolling in. So yeah, we're looking forward to the 6th of March.
Good job. Well done.
Jim, I really love the fact that, the amount of time that's gone into working out start times and trying to make it safe for everyone and doing all that sort of stuff. Well, one problem is, though, like with the mountain bike, and you start at 8 o'clock and 2 hours later, or 2 hours 20 or whatever, you're at the finish line. And I'm not saying that it's too early, but it's almost too early for a beer at that time of the day. Like 20 past 2, it's almost too early for a beer.
We'll have a cold Spates waiting for you. Don't worry.
It depends on the level of effort that you've done that morning, Angus. It's not exactly a time thing. It's about what you put in so far. I'm sure that's a thing. There's a mathematical equation around that.
I must be old school. I had this 11 o'clock thing in my head. 11 a.m. is the time you can have your first.
Just go a bit
but
slower.
Just think, you've also got that valley to yourself. And at that time, with the sun, it's going to be amazing in there.
It is, but maybe I need to take up some advice here and stop at these aid stations and dine out on the hospitality there to fill time in to be ready for beer o'clock.
I think that's a smart thing. Yeah, good. Some good learning there. Write that down, Angus.
Yeah, I've got that. That's my key point for tonight so far. Eat well to sustain later. Yeah,
good. Fantastic. Well, thanks for joining us, Gemma. All the best for your all the preparations and all the hard work that you're doing behind the scenes and have got to go. Looking forward to getting down there, sharing the event, and making 2021 an awesome event.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Good job. Well done. Thanks, Gemma.
See ya.
All the best. It's pretty cool that I don't know. It feels like it's almost got another new life to it again, Richard.
Yeah, that's right. And Gemma obviously has got a lot of experience with the race and bringing that back. Obviously, sat back and watched different things that have happened over the last couple of years. So going, okay, well, where are we at? Fresh set of eyes, and then let's take this forward. So it's cool. It's kind of getting back to the roots a little bit of the event as well, isn't it?
And it is. And I was just sitting there thinking before, we started this podcast, and I said that I'm a latecomer to this race for whatever reason. It's taken me a long time to actually get on the start line, but I think about it now. It's almost the people's race, isn't it? It's such an iconic race, and whether you're riding your bike, whether you're running the ultra, whether you're doing the miners trail, it's the people's race. It's for anybody. It's for everybody. It's for the elite races to go hard for 2 hours, and that is a hard 2 hours to get it in there, and for the people at the back of the mountain bike, that are achieving that thing. It really is.
And it's doable at any level, isn't it? As long as you do some preparation, hey, you can finish in 5.5, 6 hours, and you can have a really good day. Or you can really challenge yourself, whichever level that you're looking to go and do, as long as you're prepared. I think one of the key things that I really enjoy about the event in terms of that, the people, but also the technical nature. Actually, those river crossings at the end of it aren't a given. Actually trying to pick your line and trying to figure out how you can get through them without putting your foot down becomes a bit of that mental challenge rather than just sort of gun it.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of tactics going there as you come down the last hill heading for those first river crossings. That actually being in the lead of the pack there, or being first, is not actually the place to be there. Here's my top tip for the day. If you're there with a group of people, don't be the pioneer into the river. Let somebody else pioneer that river crossing and just watch and see how deep it is and where they're going first.
Good. Fantastic. Shall we get Adam on the show? Adam, just a bit of background about Adam. He's has got a wide range of experience, as I said right at the start. Completed the tri a number of times, qualified for Xterra, and he's also been tested the Ultra. The other week, actually, he ran the Ultra in the opposite direction. So looking forward to hearing what he had to say with that as well. So Adam, are you back there?
Yep. No,
hey, Adam.
I'm yeah, it was actually to get through to a friend's 40th in Glendhu Bay, and I live in Arrowtown, so it seemed like a good idea to run through the course, to prepare for some drinking later on.
Good.
Yeah.
And
what quite an 11 o'clock start to having some beersies, though.
Yeah, well, that's right. Did anyone outdo your effort to get there, or did you just with a guy?
No, it was a pretty civilized effort. It was a group of us just trotting through and having a good time. So there were no the only time pressure was making sure we got there before dark.
Yep, perfect.
How
were your aid stations?
Oh,
the aid stations weren't so good. I had to carry most of the food, so I tended to be the running aid station.
The aid station came with you. I like that. That's good. Adam, how did you get into this Motatapu gig? What's your background?
Well, I was a ski bum initially, and ended up back in Queenstown. Needed to find a summer sport, and my brother used to be a triathlete, and he convinced me to go along and do a team race. And I used to actually live next door to Gemma in university. So after doing a couple of little tries, I heard that the Motatapu was doing a test event for a triathlon, and I thought I've got to be part of that. So
cool.
I hit up Gemma, and she was like, "Oh, look, it's invite only. We need real triathletes." And I had to beg, and eventually she succumbed to my begging and let me have a spot. And then did it every year, apart from I think one year I was up at Clash with a Taupo Ironman, which I was pretty keen to go do. So that was the only year I missed the Motatapu try.
Good. And how did you get on in that first year? Did you wave the flag well enough? Was you embarrassed that you were turning up?
No, I was pretty stoked. I ended up mid-pack, which was a solid result, seeing I was probably one of the only ones that wasn't invited along. I had to beg to get my spot. I think I obviously did well enough because she asked me to go recce the adventure run after that. So, yeah.
I'm just, Richard, we're digressing here, and I'm just jumping back in because I can see Gemma in the background, and she's having a little laugh. I've actually just got a question for Gemma now.
Right.
Do we classify Adam as a triathlete now, Gemma?
I think he's out of stripes, yeah.
Perfect. Righto. Carry on as you were.
Sorry about that.
Gemma wanted to take part because of being a triathlete. We get to do the bike, a bit of a swim in Glendu Bay, and we also get to run. Well, originally the triathlon used to do the Miners Trail. Now it does Silver Gully, so we've done pretty much everything through there. And seeing I've recce'd the adventure run and then run back through it more recently, the opposite direction. I've pretty much taken part in all parts of the event. I actually did do the marathon one year as well, so I've done pretty much everything out there on the Motatapu.
Right, good. And that's actually this way that I got into triathlon as well. A few years back, is like I need to try and figure out the swimming gig, so put the line in the sand and say let's go and do the Motatapu, and it's a great way to go and see all the different elements of the course, isn't it? All in one hit. But why have you kept coming back to do it, Adam? What's been the draw card for you?
It's a pretty unique race. Gives me the excuse to. There's not a lot of Xterra or off-road or off-road triathlon in the South Island, so that's a big one. It's been awesome for the Motatapu to keep this going, to give athletes a chance to not only do road triathlon but also off-road triathlon. So I think that was a big part. I enjoy the off-road training a lot more. The roads are getting busier down here. Well, pre-COVID anyway. It's a little bit better getting out on the roads these days. But yeah, it just gives you an opportunity to get off and get out and do some off-road single trail running, get out on the mountain bike and ride some of the amazing trails we have down here, which tends to be a bit more enjoyable than getting out on the time trial bike and slogging out on the roads for 5 or 6 hours. Yeah,
wicked. So let's break that triathlon down. We're going to talk about the triathlon because there was a whole bunch of sort of. We'll keep giving Gemma some feedback that it is important. We'll look hopefully see it back in 2022. But let's give us a tip about the swim. What's your one key tip there, since you've done it so many times?
It can be pretty cold, so especially if you're coming down from the North Island, you want to try and do a bit of acclimatization, see if you can get into a couple of swims when you get down here. If you get down here nice and early, I suppose it's like going and doing a hot race overseas as well. You want to get there early and try and acclimatise to the conditions. So if you're coming down from the North Island to do the try, I'd say get down a little bit earlier, spend some time in Lake Wanaka, do a bit of swimming, get used to the conditions. Make sure you get out in some choppy water. It can get windy down here, and there's been some pretty good years with some white caps. Obviously, if it gets too dodgy, that might end up making it a duathlon, but I think every single year that I've raced, we've managed to get in the lake and punch out a swim. So yeah, get out there, do some choppy swimming as well.
And it's a little bit colder around in Glendu Bay compared to the foreshore, isn't it? And at Wanaka, like deeper water there as well.
A bit colder than the main bay in Wanaka. It's a bit deeper. It drops off straight away. So yeah, it tends to stay pretty fresh in Glendu Bay.
Yeah, brilliant, fantastic. What about your bike tip? How would you sort of break down the bike in regards to doing that for all those mountain bikers out there?
Yeah, well, a lot of mountain bikers probably look at it as, hey, it's not that technical, but it is a slog, and there's definitely some like you said, if you've managed to ride the whole way through without putting a foot down, it's a pretty good effort. I think I've managed a couple of years, but there's definitely a couple of punchy little short climbs that are quite difficult to get up without putting a foot down. And if you get off the bike, it definitely slows you down a bit. Probably the best tip is if you can swim really fast and Dougal Allen's racing, get on his tail for a while and draft off him.
Hold on.
He tends to clear the path pretty well, and you just got to stick on him as long as you can. You're not going to be able to do it forever, but yeah, if you stay with him for 5 or 6 Ks, as I've managed to 1 or 2 times, it makes the race a lot quicker.
Nice. But in terms of looking at the terrain, it's not like the first time I did it, I was like expecting a peak and then I'd start going down. But you're like, oh, am I starting to go down now? Like it's not even, you wouldn't even know that you're kind of at the top of the hill. And it feels like it sort of climbs and climbs and climbs for like 3/4 of the distance. And then all of a sudden you're straight down into Arrowtown. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much 10K to go when you finally hit the proper downhill. Up until that point, you get the odd little rollover, but the majority of it, you sometimes think you're going to start going down, but it's almost a bit of a false flat. And when you get into the top section of the course, the grass in there really slows you down. It almost feels like you're riding on sand. So get out there and do some, if you can, try and do some specific training to that. But yeah, I mean, obviously it's not the easiest thing to train for. You've just got to make sure you're nice and strong and you don't waste yourself in the first half of the race, because you'll pay for it when you get to that top section. Yeah,
good. So pace yourself well and ride some hills in training is kind of what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Get out there and make sure you do some long, sustained climbing.
Yeah, good. What about your run tip? The run tip is varied, isn't it, in terms of the triathlon? So you've done the Sawpit Trail, you've done the Miners Trail, we've got a few different options there. But what would, if you tried to summarise the run, what would you say that would be? What would your tip be there?
Yeah, well, Sawpit, I mean, everyone was like, oh, yes, it's going to be a lot easier than the Miners Trail. And it's definitely not as long. The Miners Trail was 15K, and it's pretty much half of that is one big brutal climb. Yeah, and then the other half is a pretty solid descent that'll sap most of the energy. But so that was pretty difficult. But the Sawpit Gully Trail is quite a lot of it is technical single trail, especially the descent through the little river gully there. And if your legs are sore, which they're most likely going to be by this point after doing the bike and putting a bit of energy out there, it is quite difficult going through that valley. So make sure actually, probably one of the best tips is to fuel really well on the bike. Like in most triathlons, you want to use it as a bit of a rolling buffet to make sure you got a decent energy levels by the time you hit that run. It is pretty hard to get down food with the nature of the run. So if you've got your energy levels topped up by the time you hit that, it's going to help you once you hit that technical downhill. You don't want to sort of be wavering a little bit and starting to get a bit dizzy running down through that.
Nice. So that's a Miners Trail tip for those people that are lining up for that, as well as practice your technical running. It's not all like, it's obviously there's a fair bit of climbing and things in there as well, but it's pretty hairy some spots as well. So get used to that when you're out there in your training, so you can prepare and get ready. So Adam, where are you off to now? Have you put your name on the start line? Have you entered?
Yeah, well, I've been telling Gemma I'm going to do the ultra run this year for the first time officially. So I guess I'll put it out there that I'm going to line up for the ultra run this time.
Good. Well done. Yeah, fantastic. And what a great place to go and explore. Have you got a tip, just speaking of ultra run, since you've been up there on the course, for someone that's looking to do the ultra?
Yeah, it's tough. That trail, I ran the Milford track when I was 18. I've done all the sort of great walks around here, and the Motatapu Trail was significantly harder than any of those. So if you're thinking you've run through the Tongariro crossing, potentially times that by 3. It's much more difficult than the majority of trails. Not only the fact that all the climbs go right back down to the valley floor almost. So, and a lot of trails you get up to the top of a ridgeline and you sort of you carry on along the ridgeline for a while and then drop down. This one is up and down 4 huge climbs, and it's off camber. A lot of it's pretty uneven underfoot. So the adventure run is even taking some of that technical running that you have on Sawpit Gully to another level. It's really quite difficult. So get out there to do some complete off-road navigational sort of stuff where you're not on a track, and that's going to help you just to get used to being a bit more nimble in the backcountry. Right.
Because it's hardly even a track, is it? It's a little goat track, and even to do any running is actually a really good result. So just practice time on feet and get up in the hills and just climb up and down and get ready for an awesome adventure.
Yeah, it is good fun. I mean, you're not going to be short of good views through there, so focus on the positives, eat lots of food, and you'll have a good time.
Good job.
Yes, so Adam is a man of many talents and a guy who's ticked all the boxes of Motatapu. For somebody that's new, I guess didn't matter what part or what piece of event they're entering, would you have one Motatapu tip that you could give, that no matter what sort of aspect you're going to do, you could apply that to that would help somebody?
Just preparation, like anything. If you got to make sure you get to the start line. Enter is the first thing, like Gemma said, make sure you get an entry in there. But then the next major goal is to make sure you get to the start line without injuring yourself. So in training, make sure you listen to your coach if you have one, and keep yourself in reasonable condition. You can't make too massive strides. It's a slow progression in these things, and just make sure you get to the start line in one piece. And I mean, it's a beautiful spot down here. You're finishing in Arrowtown, which just won New Zealand's most beautiful town, I think. So, it's just a pretty special place in the country to come visit. So get down here and enjoy it.
Good job. Well done,
we briefly talked about it before with Gemma, but, like that finish line in Arrowtown on the green, on a typical Arrowtown stunning day, man, I don't know that there's many better finish lines around.
Yeah, it would be hard to beat. And there's not, like I said, New Zealand's most beautiful town. And lucky for me, I'm about, once I hit the finish line, I'm less than a K to my house. So probably come home, have a quick shower, and then nip back down for a Spates.
Oh, good. We could probably do the same, Angus. Let's write that down.
Yeah, I thought that was an invite. That's right.
That's pretty much. And for anyone else listening.
Take a number and get in line, son.
Just go off. I might make some money out of it.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, leave a $2 coin for your 6-minute shower at the door there. Excellent. Adam, thank you for joining us. Thank you for sharing all your experiences across your vast experience of the Motatapu race, and we look forward to hearing how the Ultra goes for you.
Yeah, thanks, guys, and thanks for inviting me to come along.
Good job. Well done. Cheers, Adam.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks heaps. Just like that. Good stuff. Sorry, carry on, Angus.
Is there a challenge out there for anyone that has done any more than that? Is he the benchmark of not competitiveness, but
stages completed, maybe? Swim plus he's doing 3 every year, isn't he? Especially maybe if there was double years when it was split up into a couple. Maybe that's a thing. I don't know. There'll be a bit of research going on with that.
Must be a trophy for that. Surely there must be an award or a trophy or something there.
Yeah, just come up with the right category. I like your angle there, Angus. Have you got a story from the race in terms of that sort of epitomizes the Motatapu for you, Angus?
Look, I 2 quick things, as much as I'm ever quick, but one thing is that here's a tip for people who haven't done it, and I got told about it, and I completely underestimated it. Halfway through, or however far through it is of the ride, is that grass section up in the middle there. And make sure you save some legs for that, because by jolly, that can be leg zapping across that piece of grass. And I got told, there's this grass section and it's pretty hard going and it's pretty draggy. And I'm like, it'll be a track. And man, I remember that first year I got there and I was like, whoa, this is actually quite a feature of the race. But interestingly, probably one of my most memories that stick in my head from Motatapu was I actually suffer from Raynaud's, so my fingers go cold and numb, which isn't very handy when you start at that hour of the day at Glendew Bay, and your fingers are numb and I can hardly hold the brake levers, and after the first couple of wee creek crossings, my fingers have got absolutely rock solid numb, and I was pretty much having to look down and watch my finger come off the brake lever and back around here and then make it go back on again. And I come out of one of the creeks and I was like, man, I was like, oh, I'm done, because I'm pushing on the pedals and I'm going nowhere. And what had happened is that I couldn't feel my finger, and my finger was actually holding the rear brake still on. So I had to like sort of try and get it to come off. But what was even worse was going on is that about where my thumb sits is my lockout for my suspension. And even though I had a glove on, my thumb had been resting against that the whole time. It had been rubbing away. And by the time I got to the finish and I pulled my glove off, I had this massive big hole in my thumb, and it was bleeding, and it had taken all the thing out, and I had absolutely no idea. That's how numb my hands go.
Good.
So we compensated a bit the next year and tried to come up with a way to warm up keep the fingers a bit warmer. But yeah, some good memories, like those sort of memories are always good.
Yeah, you need to go and steal the boy that's repacking the freezer in Countdown, don't you? Go and steal his big woolly gloves and go and ride with them.
Correct. They just, I've been down that road. They just become a little bit cumbersome to try and, so it's win-win. It's lose-lose, really, isn't it, at the end of the day? So that's probably something that I'll never forget from that race. And it's funny how those sort of things always stick in your mind about a race when you have something like that.
Well, I guess what they do is they call that type 2 fun, isn't it? It's not fun, but it's fun afterwards. We're enjoying it now.
Well, I mean, yes, my thumb, it was in a whole lot of, and it took forever to heal. Like, it took months to heal because it does sit about where that is. So every time I got back on the bike, I'd rub it or knock it. But, at the time, you didn't really care, did you? Well, I couldn't feel it at the time, so I didn't know. But the older, yeah.
Nice. So, hey, we're going to talk to Amanda Harvey. She's completed the Motatapu Marathon for the first time earlier this year, in the start of March, and absolutely had a blast on talking to her earlier on. She loved it so much that she thought she'd go to the next level and just jump straight into the 50K Ultra course. So, Amanda, are you back there?
Yes. Here I am.
Where is here?
Sorry?
Where is here?
Here, on the waterfront in Queenstown.
Aye.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
There's a jet boating special going on behind you there.
Exactly. So just sitting here on the waterfront, enjoying the sunset.
Good on you. That's fantastic. Some people would call this a little bit crazy, Amanda, jumping straight into the marathon, having a crack at that. It must have been good to want to go back and go even bigger next time.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it so much. I kind of didn't realize the kilometers were clicking away there, just enjoying the scenery as I ran. And I just thought, rather than try and better my time from this year, I guess, next year, why not go one bigger and see if I can try and do the Ultra and go a little bit further.
Yeah, good. So kind of put it in the bag. Okay, job done. And I really enjoyed that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit about your background. Why did you actually enter? What was the motivation behind that?
So I guess back home in the UK, I was a swimmer. So I've always been involved in sport. And actually, when I came to New Zealand, I started volunteering firstly for the marathons and other sporting events, and saw that euphoria as people crossed the finish line. I thought, actually, maybe I want a piece of that as well, and see that, the emotion as people cross the line and the stories why people are doing things. So I gave the Queenstown Marathon a go, really enjoyed that. And then thought, actually, maybe let's try that backcountry ones as well, and get out there and see stuff you wouldn't normally be able to see by by doing a bit of a challenge as well. Yeah. And
it's not something that you're necessarily, like Adam's just gone to do it the other weekend on the way to Wanaka. It's not, most of us wouldn't do that. It's somewhere that you wouldn't normally go, is it? And also to have the support on the way with the aid stations and the extra sort of safety and things that they do to make sure that you go and have a good time and enjoy it out there. So it's a pretty awesome opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So you've got that support. So if anything does, God forbid, go wrong, you're in safe hands. But yeah, you're out seeing stuff that you wouldn't normally be able to go and see. Fantastic.
So what was your best bit with the marathon? Coming back to that.
Yeah, the marathon, I guess, probably running through that open backcountry. I did enjoy also the although I was a bit nervous about it, the river crossings. Yep. I had visions of me up to my waist trying to wade through the river, but actually, knee deep, and it's actually quite a relief sometimes to get that splash of the cold water.
Yeah. And some of them, like they're deep enough that you can't really run. You might as well just walk through them anyway, aren't they? So that's quite nice to be able to walk a bit, isn't it?
Yeah. Takes a bit of a breather.
Yes, yeah, good. I always like to ask this, and I'm surely there were somewhere. Maybe you've forgotten them now because it's a few months ago. But were there any dark moments?
Yeah, I guess I did really enjoy it. Probably the dark moments, if there were any, maybe again is the river crossings. Not because you have to walk, but it's where towards the end, you're trying to pick people off, as it were, and see if you can get that one extra place more. And going through those river crossings makes it harder.
Yeah. You get them, and then they're running away again, and you're walking still.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly so. But it adds to the fun.
Yeah, good stuff. That's good. And what's some advice that you would give to others that are lining up the Motatapu as their first marathon?
I think again, preparation and equipment is key. Having the right shoes. When I ran another marathon, I ended up with big bruises on my shins. I wasn't wearing the kind of correct equipment. Whereas this time I had the right shoes. I went and got them from a local store, and I swear by my watch now for pacing. Even on those the runs you do to get ready for it, it just gets your pace at the right level, because there's too many times I get too excited and try and run with the pack at the beginning and go off way too fast, and then have to scale back.
Yes. So and there are ups and downs. So that's obviously measured based on how you're feeling and what the terrain is. But when you're sort of just chipping away and maybe it's slightly downhill, there's a couple of nice little downhill bits just to go, actually, let's just run my pace rather than getting caught up in the race. If you race too early, then you're not going to pace yourself, and then it's going to all fall to pieces later on.
Exactly. So yeah. Keep that pace going and see how long you can keep it going for.
Good. And the thing with the marathon, especially the Motatapu Marathon, it's basically average time is about an hour slower. I think it's around 5.5 hours is an average for Motatapu, whereas maybe it's more like 4 for a normal kind of marathon. So it's longer, isn't it? And that's based on the terrain, the ups and downs, but then also those river crossings at the end. That it does mean that finish line just takes longer to get there in those last few Ks, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely so. I have to say, I think there was one point I was crossing one of the last ones, and I had to say to a spectator, I was like, "Is this the last one?" Yes, I must be nearly there. This must be the last one. Yeah.
Yeah, and they say you're almost there, and you don't believe them anyway, but you sort of just hope that they're right for a change.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. What are you most looking forward to with the Ultra?
I think it is that challenge. Obviously, I just listening to Adam before that I haven't done that many kind of hills in my running so far. So that's something I'm going to really have to try and incorporate in my training over the next few months. So yeah, the challenge, and again, that euphoria when you cross the finish line and you realize all that training did pay off.
Yeah, and the bigger you go, the further you are, and the more adversity that you face, the bigger that relief and the satisfaction and being proud of your effort is when you get to the finish line, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good,
yeah, definitely.
good.
And you've deserved that beer.
Yeah, even though you sometimes think it's never, ever actually going to get there, but you do in the end, as long as you keep moving forward.
Exactly.
Why do you do this? Why are you doing these ultras? Why are you doing the marathon? Why have you sort of really got into this wholeheartedly, Amanda?
I think I always ran a little bit at home, but out here the scenery is so beautiful, and I just enjoy being out and about where I wouldn't normally be. And I think. Yeah, and I don't know how long I'm going to be able to stay in New Zealand, so I want to try and tick off these things and make sure I can see as much of the country as I can. And if that's by hiking or running with a bit more of a challenge, then I'll get out there and see what I can do.
Fantastic, good stuff. And you've got the perfect training zone just basically up the end of the street to do plenty of vertical meters and some good hiking and climbing. So we look forward to seeing how you get on come 2021, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, looking forward to it. Getting hard into training now.
Gets a bit easier as the warmth comes up, doesn't it? Like once you get out of that cold mode, motivation comes with the sun rays comes motivation, I find.
Oh, definitely. I was out this morning actually doing a run before work out about 7 o'clock this morning, and it's beautiful.
In fact,
sometimes just before we go, sometimes it actually gets. It becomes hard to not overtrain. It's quite easy as every day arises, whether it be morning or afternoon or whatever, and those beautiful days, and it becomes a challenge not to overtrain and not to do too much sometimes.
Definitely, yeah. You have to get those stretches in as well, which is what I need to do. Get a bit more yoga, I think.
Yeah,
actually,
good stuff.
One final question before you go, because I haven't got to ask this yet tonight. training morning or night?
Morning is my before work. Sets me up for the day. Gets me more energized for the rest of the day. Believe it or not.
Brilliant. Angus is hoping that you go say afternoon.
I thought I was on a roll after last week and things, but turns out
yeah, good try. Good stuff, Amanda. You look after yourself. Thanks for sharing, and all the best for your preparation, and look forward to seeing you across that finish line.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Now, Rich, I know we've talked about this before. We have in a previous episode, we talked about this little incident before, but as it's a Motatapu special, and you are a competitor of multiple aptitudes there, tell us about your the last time you lined up on the start line for Motatapu. But don't tell us about lining up on the start line. Tell us about the finish shoot.
Yeah, so Jacob Lamont and I went to basically do a whole bunch of filming for the race, and we sort of like set out, have a good day out, etc. It so happened like after the first aid station, he actually wasn't feeling very well. So he'd been a bit sick a couple of weeks before, and he wasn't too flash. So he probably should have pulled out. So we had a long day out there. We walked pretty much the whole course, to be honest, and we were like maybe the second to last group sort of people to actually finish. So it was tough. And Jacob was super. He's a hard man, and he did really well just to kind of keep on keeping on. But as we're coming down from Macetown, like it's a gentle downhill, nice full drive track, and we're sort of just chatting kind of thing to keep the morale up. And I was sort of saying, okay, righto, Jacob, at the end of this river, do you reckon the finish line is to the left of the valley or the right of the valley? And I was like, oh, let's go and have a crack at this. I'll say to the right. He chose the left, and we basically put on the fact that if the loser has to piggyback the winner across the finish line, which, hey, if it was you, that's fine. But Jacob, I'm not sure exactly how much he weighs, but he'd be a good 110 in the shade anyway. Good. Yeah, his calf muscle was one of his calves as big as both of my thighs put together. So unfortunately, I lost. And so the last 10 meters across the finish line, he did take a bit of a running jump. I managed to hold that and sort of get across the finish line without face planting. So a fun way to finish and a good bit of banter on the way. And that was in the teams event. So it was a paired ultra option, which is a cool way to go and share the event with a friend.
I'm pretty disappointed of me to be actually not as prepared as I thought I was, but I thought we had a photo of that little lovely piggyback. Right, it is quite an impressive shot, and it's a good thing that you always preach about strength training in your training regimes, Richard.
Yeah, maybe it's just lucky that we had like 3 months lockdown and I could get my back right after that. Perhaps that's straight after that one. No, that was good.
Hey, look, let's roll on to our last guest. And, we were just joking before this. This is the perfect timing for Kate Fluker, who multi-time women's winner of the Motatapu mountain bike race. And we were just talking before that what better time than to come into the end, sit in behind the draft of everybody who's paved the way, and then out of the blocks at the end to finish it strong.
Brilliant. Actually, I don't think that's the way that Kate would normally race. She'd just be off the front for the start and you never catch her anyway. That's why
I do like to hold my own.
Yeah, exactly. Kate, you've the Motatapu for you obviously means a lot. It's kind of where you started and almost where you finished your mountain biking career.
Yeah, that's right. The Motatapu was my first race 10 years ago, and I didn't ride bikes before that. And when we moved to Queenstown, and as a way of meeting people and making friends, Rion, my husband, bought me a $400 bike to train on with this group of girls that I'd met. And the decision was made during training that we'd race the Motatapu together. But as the training evolved, and I was actually finding going up the hills quite easy and I was loving it, and they kind of said, well, maybe you should actually go and see how you go. And my first ever mountain bike race, and that actually Gemma was involved in, I remember her so clearly. She's such a awesome part of the event, just so happy to see everybody. And I managed to actually get second there, and I just caught the bug, and I've been racing ever since up until this year. So
just like that. Was that on your $400 bike that you got second?
No, that broke doing training.
Okay, that's awesome. So you've done it 10 times. You've got
Mhm.
second once, and that was the first time that you actually did it.
Yeah.
Yep. And every other time you've won it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Pretty
Yeah.
awesome, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you get through that course so fast? What's some tips for Joe Average? We're standing on the start line, or maybe with like Angus has gone and done the event, and we're going to try and do our PB this time. How do you ride that Motatapu course so quickly?
Yeah, I've been trying to think about an answer for this, but I basically try to split it down into 3 parts.
Yeah.
I feel like the first third of the race is uphill. Yes, it undulates, but overall, you're uphill. And then you need to make sure that you've saved enough energy for that grassy flat bit that we've talked about earlier tonight, because it looks flat on the profile, but that grass just sucks the energy out of your legs. It's thick, it's slow, and there's ruts, and you think it's going to be flat and easy, but it's not. And it's actually quite a lot of mental power more than anything else. It feels like you're slowed down. People fall off in the ruts because they lose concentration. Get through there, and then it's just a beautiful downhill to the finish.
Yeah,
There's a
just
few pictures though which you can't forget about. But it's and that's where the river crossings are as well, which does slow things down. But yeah, I've broken it up into thirds, and I've raced it just about every way possible in terms of smashing it the whole way, trying to pace myself a wee bit, and then saving probably too much energy for the finish. And I can tell you pacing is the way to go.
Okay. Yeah. So able to do your best performance by just holding a little bit back at the start, not spending all your pennies early, and then being able to get that across that middle section. I guess the other thing, it's mentally, isn't it? Like if you're hurting, everyone else is hurting, aren't they? You've just got to keep on doing your best as you can at that time. Yes,
and I actually remember a nationals round I was doing. That's exactly what Rion said to me. I was absolutely in the box, and he yelled from the sideline, "She's hurting too." And it was just what I needed to hear, just to be like, okay, yeah, well, this is why we do this. We do this to feel a little bit of type 2 fun, feel a bit of pain, and good pain, and pressure, and it's what makes the end so rewarding.
Absolutely. That's just what Amanda was talking about earlier as well, wasn't she? Just actually the bigger the challenge, the deeper we go, the more rewarding that finish line feels, and to be proud of your effort as you go. Have you got any mental strategies, any other mental strategies that you use when you just don't want to be there anymore?
Yeah, I have a few affirmations that I say to myself. It's never results based, because I just think when you're out there doing your best, that's all you can do. But I say things like, strong mind, strong legs. It's just because you can get into some dark places, and just remind yourself kind of why you're there. If you're there for your own reasons, that's all you can do. And I think that's really an awesome part of the Motatapu, is that you see at the finish line just everyone achieving their own personal goals. Like that vibe on that finish line is something else. And that's just it's probably my favorite part of the race is getting to the green, sitting down and relaxing and celebrating everyone's successes. It's really awesome.
Awesome. What about the river crossings towards the end? Like we've talked about that a little bit in terms of, and they are tricky and they're a bit different than what you'd find. Like it's not just a straightforward that you'll go through earlier on in the race. How do you kind of approach those? Because obviously you've spent a bit of time through that valley and coming across towards the end. How do you approach them?
Yeah, it's quite difficult. And depending on the weather, they can vary in height. Like I remember one really rainy year, I'm quite short. So it was, the rivers were up to over my belly button, and the bike was floating down the river. But that was a bad year. It's not normally like that. So I try to look for rough parts of the river, because it generally means it's going over rocks and it's a bit shallower, and ride with down the flow. Never against it, because it's adding more resistance to. There are rivers, if you get in a deep hole, get off, walk. It's better than falling off in the drink. And I don't think I've ever cleared all the rivers, and that's fine. It's really hard to do.
Good. And it's a matter of picking your line, isn't it? So not just going straight across as soon as the actually riding down the riverbank a little bit, because that's kind of halfway where the course kind of goes too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. What about nutrition? What do you do there? What are your kind of go-tos? I mean, the nutrition's going to be different for everybody, isn't it? Because there's people that are doing the mountain bike, it's going to take them 6 hours. It might be 4, 3. It might be like you're just a bit over 2. But what do you do for that length of race for yourself?
Yeah. First of all, the big thing with nutrition is make sure that you've trained with it. When you put your body under stress, it can be quite hard on the stomach if you're taking on gels or food you haven't had before. So I try to eat every half an hour to 45 minutes. And when I say eat, I tend to switch between a gel or say a 1 square meal or even a bit of banana, like actual food rather than just putting the glucose into your stomach.
Yes.
So I think it's important to eat before you get hungry, because once you're hungry, it's really hard to come back.
Yeah, good. And for that length of time, obviously breakfast and a bit of a pre-race snack is super important as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I tend to have breakfast and then maybe half a banana maybe half an hour before we go. And then in my drink bottle, I would have electrolytes and a carb mix. So Pure do a really good one of those. But again, just use what you've been training with.
Fantastic. What about nerves on the start line? Has that been an issue for you in the past? How do you deal with those?
Yeah, I get really nervous. I put a lot of pressure on myself because I want to do well. How do you deal with those? I'm probably not the best person to ask. I don't deal very well with them.
Right. Okay.
But I guess you know that once you're going, the nerves go, and it's. I actually think they're quite healthy. It means you care, and it means you want to do well, and it's all part of the process. Focus on things you can control rather than results-based worries and things like that. Everyone's out there for their own reason, so you need to remember what it is and just try to have fun. Good.
And just embracing those nerves is a really good tip, isn't it? Actually, it's a good thing. Otherwise, maybe not ready, or I'm not focused properly about where I need to be. That's fantastic. So just to summarize, to bring all those things together, what would be your top tip for someone wanting to complete that Motatapu mountain bike?
Do the training, because yes, it's not a typical mountain bike race in terms of technicality, but when you're tired, anything's technical.
Yes.
There's ruts in the grass, there's the downhill at the end, the Mount Soho downhill, which is quite rocky. So make sure you can, go downhill safely. The middle bit, like I said, is a slog. So make sure you train your hills, but then you're going into your flat and being able to push through that as well. And look around. Please look around. The views are so beautiful, and I haven't done enough of that. I actually plan to do it again and ride through and actually look around and have a good time.
I think Gemma's got a sunny day organised as well as part of her preparation, so it might be good to go and tee up a friend and cruise through it next time.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. I've been trying to convince my dad, but he's too old.
Okay. Right. Okay. At least you're honest. Yeah. Good.
So what about Kate? What's next for Kate? Kate, we saw you, at the highest of high level of mountain biking through, New Zealand and things, and you had a bit of time out. Are we going to see you back again?
I'm not on the national scene as such. No, I'm really happy with what I've achieved, and I'm actually really enjoying some downtime now. Motatapu, I'll be back for sure. It's such an awesome event, and I would love to support Gemma. She's such a she's just an awesome human, and she puts on a really good event. So I'll be back. Just I don't know when.
Fantastic.
Right.
Good stuff. If we can call you dad out, maybe you'll be next year.
What's that? Sorry.
Yeah, Richard.
I was just going to say, if you can call your dad out or another friend, hopefully next year.
Yeah. See if old dad will drag me through again. Old Willie. Yeah.
That's right. He must be looking for something to do by now.
I still see him out riding all the time. He's not retired.
Yeah, he doesn't know any different, does he? No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
Kate, thank you very much.
No worries.
Well done on your achievements through the Motatapu race. You'll go down in history as one of the leading female competitors to have ever set foot there. And we hope to see you back. I'd be even happy to see you on the aid station if that's what it's got to be. Then
I would do that.
Feel free to have some jet planes ready as I'm coming past.
I would do that for sure. I'd love that. Thank you.
Well done.
Awesome.
Good job, Kate. Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah.
Well done, Angus. Have you, in the background there, you're probably putting entry in, were you? Is that what was happening?
Well, you know what? I've written actually down here, Richard. I've written a couple of things down here while we've been bantering away there. And one of the things is there's a piece of advice taken from the show tonight, and Adam probably said it the best. But get on the start line, get an entry. There's still entries available to all the events. There's plenty of time to get one now, to get an entry in, to put that line in the sand, get some coaching, do whatever you need to do to get you there. Just do that. But not only do that, enter again next year, and then enter again the year after, because course knowledge at this event will help you get better and better and better. There's no doubting that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's really important, I think, like just thinking about it, actually commit to that goal, and then you have to figure out how. And also, we're before Christmas at the moment, so actually doing that now before Christmas, so you can go, okay, cool. When I'm away with the family or whatever, I can get my bike out, do a bit of that, and just kind of get started on that journey and get underway. Within that coaching side of things, we've got a whole bunch of different options in regards to sort of some, hey, let's really look after you, through to, hey, let's kind of do it yourself type model as well. And there's some training plans on the website. Go and check them out, just to help you out to how do I break it down, and how do I get there in one piece and enjoy that whole experience. So make sure you check that out as part of that putting your toe on the start line and committing process.
Correct. So head to the Motatapu website, push the entry button on there, pay your money, get it up, get it on the line, get it all signed up. Then head over to the team. Tell your friends, get them to enter too, because it's much better in a group. Beers are always best shared with friends at the end. And then get over to the Team CP website and hit the button to make contact with you, Richard. Get in touch, find some information there, and to get the best out of your day that you possibly can.
Absolutely. Just have a chat and we'll see how we can best help you out. Absolutely. So Motatapu 2021, let's bring it on.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, actually, for those that are new-ish, that may have done it once last year, or this year it still is, and have got that whole, I'm going to be back because I'm going to do a better time, and I'm going to do this, and I want to get inside this time. Actually, Motatapu is one of those events that don't get hung up on PBs, because there's actually a whole lot of variables go in that race, like the general temperature, which way the wind blows through the valley and how hard it blows through there. If it's been wet, that grass is super slow. If they've had rainfall, those rivers are higher than what they can be. And actually, it's pretty hard year on year. So if you are someone who's got this great goal and mindset, don't be disappointed with yourself. Just lay down the best that you can be on the day would be my advice to Motatapu.
100%. Totally agree. And if you want to compare your times, a good way to do that is the percentage of the winner's time. Have I improved next to them as well? That can be a good way just to take those conditions out of play a little bit. There's a bit of maths involved there, but at least you can sort of go, okay, well, I relatively did improve.
But what's also relative is that if you're 6 minutes slower than you were last year and you're a bit disappointed, have a look at those guys at the front, because they may be 2 or 3 minutes slower than what they were the year before as well, which tells you the course is running slow.
So yeah, absolutely fantastic. So we'll look forward to seeing you down there, Angus, come March.
Oh, you just never know, Richard, do you? You just never know.
I don't think you've done that ultra run yet, so I think it's got your name all over it. It's good for you.
I knew you were going to say that. I just knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you just don't know when. I just need to find that button that removes you out of the screen quicker sometimes.
Good. I'll have a chat to Gemma straight after this and see what we can do for you.
Top bloke.
Well done. Well, without further ado, we better wrap this show up. This is getting out of hand. I'll be entered shortly as well in the ultra. Thanks for everyone for joining us.
Yep. Thanks to Gemma, Kate, Adam, Amanda. Thank you all for joining us and sharing your stories. I hope that every one of you out there that hasn't entered is inspired now to go and enter and get an entry into this iconic race. Thank you to our partners, to Team CP, to Solomon New Zealand, to Front Runner, Pure Sports, Pure Nutrition, Sinto watchers. Who are we missing on my list there, Richard? Coffee Culture. Have I nailed them all yet?
I think you've done pretty well. Front Runner, Evo Cycles, and you, Angus, as well.
Thank you to everyone. Don't forget, same bat channel, same bat time, same bat. Actually, no, Richard, we're not here next week.
It's a good point.
It's
yes, we're going to have a bit of a break for Christmas.
It is. So actually, this is our potentially our final episode for 2020. So we hope we've got the World Bingo Champs going on next Wednesday night. So if you are a Team CP athlete, member, partner, whatever, make sure you let us know that you're going to come to our World Bingo Champs next Wednesday night. Otherwise, have a great Christmas, a great New Year, and we will be sure to let you know when we are back on the air.
Fantastic. Stay safe, enjoy your adventures, and we'll see you in 2021. Thanks, team.